Hi friends, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Today is going to be a follow-up of my Xbox 360 video. There was wanted to talk about the backwards compatible games. I did a video a couple weeks ago showing every backwards compatible Xbox 360 and original Xbox game that I had in my big 5 terabyte hard drive for my Xbox One X. And it was a good video. A lot of people watched it and liked it. I got like 2,400, 2,500 views on it. I think I was shocked at how many views I got on it. But I wanted to do one specifically. You don't see a lot of videos on this topic. And let's pick out my top favorite guilty pleasures or top Xbox 360 games that you've got to play that are not on the backwards compatible list. And some people, like I mentioned before, okay, so I'm missing 5 or 6 games, or let's say a dozen games that maybe aren't on the backwards compatible list. So I've got more than enough to play, and it's true. You've got I've got almost 200 games, backwards compatible games that I can play that are installed in my big hard drive. But so I was going to do, here's 20 reasons to buy an Xbox 360 in 2022. And there you see a lot of top 10 and top 20, and then I had mentioned in my last video, well, maybe I'll do, even 25 or even 30 games. Well, I went out and looked at them, and there's a tremendous amount, a lot more than that. So as usual, I believe in giving people more. Not that this is a, paywall channel, you got to pay for anything. Certainly it's free and always will be. I won't tell you to, like, comment, and subscribe. I never have. To me, if you like the video, you'll like it. If you want to make a comment, you leave a comment. If you're interested in subscribing, you like my content in any way, then maybe you'll subscribe. That's fair enough. I mean, everyone's been drilled into their head for years, and to me, people just resent even hearing it. So I don't talk about that. I will never do Patreon or anything like that. I mean, I've had viewers that said, Dean, you really should do a Patreon. I'd support you. And I appreciate that. It's very kind, but it's just, I'm not doing this for money. This is just a labor of love. I wish I could do it more often, and I'm going to really work hard, guys, at trying to do more videos once a week if I can. And I can probably get pretty close to that. I'm going to try anyway. So, as usual, I believe in giving people, their money's worth. When I was, a licensed painting contractor, I would always go the extra mile and throw in something on every job above and over their expectations, and it always makes people happy. So instead of giving you 20 reasons to buy an Xbox 360, I'm going to give you 60. And I'll try to go through these fast, so it won't be a 3.5 hour review. Again, I don't have time limits like some people do in their YouTube videos. I can talk for hours if I want to. I already talked too long as it is, so I'll try to get right to it. I'm going to keep these relatively brief, just a little synopsis on each one. Briefly, why I like the game and why I think it's worth playing and picking up for your collection. Believe me, and I have another 20, 30 that I could do on top of this. I had so many. I had close to 80 games that I really loved that aren't on the backwards compatibility list, and I said, no, I'll try to keep it down to 50 tops. That I couldn't decide. So now there are a few, and I'll keep those in a separate pile where there's sequels, like one game and I like the sequel to it, I like this game and I like the sequel to it, and I couldn't separate. I mean, I could try to whittle it down, okay, which one's my absolute favorite, but both of them I like so much that those games, I put both of them in there because they're just worth having. But there's a lot of series that I had that were in the backwards compatibility list that I could have added all of the games in that series, and I might add just one or instead of both of them or 3 or whatever was there. So I try to be very selective to pare it down to 60, if you can believe it. Anyway, here it goes. Many of you know this game. This was the last game from the fantastic studio that was Pandemic Studios. It did so many great original Xbox games and 360 games. Their last game was the Saboteur, as many of you know. This is a fantastic game. Open world World War II game. I've got, God knows, 150 hours in this maybe, and I'm not even completed the game because I just did so much exploring and went out, and you can kind of go out in advance and outside of the missions and take out, you get, points for taking out, speaker phones that are putting up propaganda, destroying buildings, tank blockades, stuff like that, and each one of those things, even though they may not be tied to a mission, you get extra points. Those points build up, and it gives you more, XP or whatever to do the game. So that way, when you go into the missions, you've already cleared a path to the missions, and you've got a lot more, upgrades or what have you. So this is a very good game, very in-depth, and has a really good strategy guide to it as well. And you can also get the DLC, which has the full nudity in the Paris, France strip bars, which I like. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not a healthy heterosexual male. So to me, the women are beautiful to look at. I respect them in every way, but you can't beat looking at a little nudity once in a while, or as much as you can get in a video game anyway. So great game, highly recommended. The first game of this is in the backwards compatibility list, but I think the second one is better in many ways, and that's Mercenaries 2 Down in Flames. World in Flames, Down in Flames. Sounds like an AC/DC game song. Another Pandemic Studios game. Fantastic, guys. This is so good. Wonderful game. There's so much to this. In fact, this is one of the strategy guides that I want to get for both of these games, the first one and the second one, because they're so good. Just wonderful open world destruction, kind of in a third world country, and you're down there, doing CIA type stuff, mercenary stuff, and it's just really cool. Just great explosions. You can pick and choose the way that you want to approach the targets. Just a great game. Pandemic was masters of really doing those kind of games. For some reason, I don't know why, this was not on the Rockstar backwards compatible list. They have almost every other game there is, including table tennis. But for whatever reason, God forbid, they didn't have LA Noir. Many of you know that this is one of my top 10 favorite Xbox 360 games of all time. This was like a religious experience for me personally. Late 40s, Los Angeles did a wonderful job capturing LA at that time. Even the street layout is relatively accurate in sections. It's pretty good to how it was back then. And there's wonderful collectibles in the way of, you can kind of like GTA, take any car off the street and then, or commandeer it at a light or something at gunpoint. And you can I found every vehicle in this. This one I completed all the way through with a really high achievement score. Went after like all of the movie location film reels and all of this stuff. And there's a lot of collectibles. Just fantastic. So many ways to play it. Beautiful. At the time, it was revolutionary, this motion capture thing. When in fact, my ex-wife's cousin is one of the actors that is in one of the cutscenes. That played one of the people that in fact, we lived with him in Culver City. He was an actor. He's been on, Crime Story and Miami Vice, Jake and the Fat Man. He was a regular in Jake and the Fat Man. But and he's been in a lot of movies and HBO movies, but he's actually in this, which is kind of a novelty. I hated the SOB, frankly. I thought he was as conceited as all get out, and he certainly doesn't share my political views, but he's a good actor, and I did enjoy my time visiting with him. He took me to some Hollywood parties that were, a lot of people thought I was an actor, and I was just, no, dude, I'm just here hanging out with my wife's cousin. But I went to some pretty cool parties up in the valley in the Hollywood Hills anyway, but anyway, great game. You got to play this one, guys. It's so good. There's just so many different ways and outcomes that you can play and investigate each of these cases and case files. I got all the DLC to this too. Fantastic game. Army of Two, the 40th Day, and I mentioned this, that for whatever reason this wasn't in. In fact, this has a second one with it too. And I'll show that in just a second, but Army of Two, the 40th Day it's like on a quantum leap from the first one, as good as it is on the Xbox 360. I'd highly recommend this. Again, they're designed for co-op, but you can play them offline solo, and you've got a relatively good AI guy that will do what you tell him to do, and he'll take the heat off you so you can get in closer. It's just, I love that leapfrog effect that you get with the Army of Two games, and they did a great job with this one. Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel. This I like, believe it or not, the best of the three of them. And it got relatively mixed or poor reviews. Some people liked it. It did have some clunkiness where when you play it solo with your, what would be your co-op partner, but it's with your AI partner, he does a really good job. But sometimes you have to like push a vehicle out of the way or push a heavy door out of the way or something. And so you have to get on either side of it and push, and to try to get them to line up, I had difficulty a couple times. That's the only grievance I had with the game. But this is really good. Destructible environments, which you rarely see. It's very cool upgrades and collectibles. You can collect all of these different masks, like the helmets that they wear, body armor, uniform. Some of them have flames, some have red, white, and blue stuff, some have crazy camo stuff on them. Endless upgrades, endless ways that you can upgrade yourself, and then whatever you upgrade your character, you see him in that world, playing in the game. It's a third-person game, but a very, very good one. I love this game. I started playing it, didn't know if I'd like it. I couldn't stop playing. I stayed up all night and beat it in one setting. That's how good it was. Around my 50th birthday. Wonderful, wonderful game. Inversion. This is one you don't see a lot of. I really like this game. I only played the beginning of it, but I'm dying to play more of it because, just like on the cover, it's like some crazy, everything is, as they say, it's upside down, but it's more like it's on its side. So there's all of these like toppled buildings or whatever, and you've got, I don't know if it's a special gravity suit, but you can walk like down the face of a building, and you can have these gunfights. It really fucks with your head, with your equilibrium or whatever. But that's what I love about. We don't see games like this anymore. Sadly, we rarely get good, juicy IPs like this. You will with indie games, certainly, but not from bigger studios. Just a really cool game. It's just got some really good, kind of like Army of Two, just really good gunfights. I love anything with good shooting, third-person shooters, and this is a really good one that I check out. Check out some reviews of this. It's very unique, very different. They had the second one, but God forbid they have the first Kane and Lynch Dead Men. This one is so good. It's like the Michael Mann Heat movie pared down into a game, but with different characters. And these Kane and Lynch are two very unlikable characters, definitely anti-heroes, but just in-your-face violence, the vulgarity. I like things with over-the-top vulgarity. I try not to do it in my videos. I had someone that got offended because I talked to, hey, I got my son listening to this, and he doesn't need to hear all the F words and stuff. I get it. I understand. But again, this is not a channel designed for kids. I try to be a decent person and not to use too much vulgarity, but sometimes I say fuck it and just I got to rave about the game in the way that I feel comfortable, talking about it. So it's such a good game. This is highly underrated. Some people just don't like it, and I can understand that. Jeff Gertzman had his infamous review of this, and the second one in particular, and it got him in the hot seat, But it's just a great game. Anything that's controversial or typically that's not politically correct are like high on my list. In fact, Solid Rev sometimes likes some of those same games. Hey, Dean, is that game any good? And I go, yeah, no, dude, I think you'll like it. But again, I like things for my own reasons. Sometimes I'll gravitate towards less than perfect games. This game was the first game demo I saw playing on a white Xbox 360 right after the 360 launched, and I was just between Dead Rising, Call of Duty 2, and Full Auto. I was absolutely mesmerized. It still is impressive, I think, to this day. It's a first-person shooter twisted metal is what it is. And it's just, there's just endless upgrades, incremental upgrades, and you can customize your cars, and there's just endless ways you can go upwards and backwards and forwards through the tracks. They kind of do repeat a lot of the same tracks, but they'll break it up. Destructible environments, you can shoot them, blow up a building and it collapses, and they did more with the Full Auto Battlegrounds 2, the second one. They did more of the destructible environments, but still, this was just really, I was blown away. I said, I've got to get an Xbox 360. At the time, they were like $1,000 online. You couldn't touch them. And then a year later, they went down to 800, kind of like it is right now with the PS5 and the Series X. Very difficult to get, but this launch game, and it was a launch game, was just mind-blowing. This game sold me. And Dead Rising sold me on the Xbox 360. What's ironic is that I have Dead Rising, 1 and 2, and off the record some of the other ones, but I've never played any of them. It's so weird. I was obsessed because to me it was like Dawn of the Dead. You're in a mall shooting zombies. I'm all over it. But this is such a good game, and it still is very good today. There's some good reviews. Even recently, someone did some reviews of this. Pastimes. Reviews, or I forget what it's called, a really good channel, did a really good review of this not long ago. But I love this one, and I love the second one, which the second one is exclusive to the PS3 only, sadly. Here's my favorite Need for Speed game of all time. I've beaten it several times and on hard. Need for Speed The Run. It's basically, it's a Cannonball Run story. It's from California to New York. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful game. You start off in California in different parts of the Bay, in the East Bay area, and then going through the hills, the inner mountain hills, the windmills and what have you, and then you go through the San Joaquin Valley, through Yosemite, and then you pop into the high desert where I used to live, right on the border, near Barstow and all that, go on your way to Vegas. And then you slowly work your way through the Rocky Mountains and then up through Illinois to Chicago. You get some really good, cut scenes in Chicago where you actually get out of the car, which is very unusual. Quick time events, but still novel for a story-based game. I think the story's good. The character's not the most likable, but I think it's a good setup for a race across country. It's very well done. It gets really intense in New York when you're at the last stage and you're going down, across the Brooklyn Bridge the wrong direction against traffic, and it's intense. And last level I had to do a few times to beat it, but on hard, man, some of these I had to do like 20 times over and over and over. It's one of the few games that I said, you know what, I like it so much, I'm going to persevere and I'm going to beat this fucker, and I did. I love this game. It's my favorite Need for Speed game. If you've never played this because you've heard, mixed reviews or whatever, please give it a chance. Very, very good game. Blur is another game. It's kind of like a Mario Kart, but with realistic modern cars. My, Dodge Challenger, Hemi Challengers in here. There's Corvettes and other, and SUVs, everything. But it's a very realistic graphics, but with these very video gamey, floating icons you go through, and then you get weapons and you can fire at them and blow them up, and it's very, very cool. This is a great game, gorgeous game. Metal Jesus also likes this game quite a bit. It's an awesome game, you guys. You don't see, they had Pure on their backwards compatibility list, but they didn't have Nailed. Nailed, I think, is a really underrated, very underrated gem that very few people have played. It's a dirt bike and quad game. But what's cool about this, it's something, and it's done in that Dead Island Chrome engine or whatever, so it has this kind of blurry Vaseline kind of depth of field effects, which I actually like a lot. That's why I like, Call of War is the Cartel and Dead Island, Riptide and stuff, because I like that game engine. But they use the game engine in this, and it's almost nauseating. You get some verticality in this, where you're going down these really steep mountains, and the air you get is like, it's overwhelming. It's some of the best air I've ever seen portrayed in a video game. You want to do in crazy jumps in multiple ways. You can go down the mountains and through the woods and around, obstacles and stuff. It's very intense, very fast paced, a very cool game. I played this initially, I bought it for the PS3, and then I got the Xbox 360 version. Speaking of big air, here's, some of you know that have watched my channel for years, my favorite snowboard game of all time is the Big Air edition of Stoked. Now, you can get Stoked and then they get the Big Air edition, which has more mountains. This game is tougher than a cheap steak. It's very, very hard. I unlocked a couple mountains, and to keep unlocking, you have to do this checklist of air tricks and do everything just right, and I just cannot get the tricks right. I can go down the mountains and race and beat all of the people in every ski event, but it's just really tricky. It's hard to unlock the other mountains, and I want them so bad. This is one I've tried to persevere for months. I played this for months straight, and I just couldn't get into. There's like 2 more mountains to unlock, and I just can't get to them. I unlocked a few of them, but my God, you can drop in from a helicopter. You pick the location, and you just go, okay, here, and then you just jump off the helicopter. You land right on the top of the mountain. You can go down over rocky cliffs and probably die. But you pick the way that you go down the mountain, and the verticality and the sense of speed. And what's cool is they have storm systems, and it tells you up front, the weather's been sunny out, the snow's kind of melted a little bit, so you're going to see more trees and tree stumps sticking out of the ground. Or you'll have a heavy snow that covers everything, so you go down the same mountain, and now it's different because of the depth of the snow and the weather effects. Very, very cool game. An early Xbox 360 game. My absolute favorite, even more so than SXX games, as much as I love them. They're more arcadey, user-friendly. This is a very fun game, guys. You've got, and my God, it's for the cost of a burrito, you can get this game now. It's still a cheap game. I'm getting hoarse now. That's already on a good roll. Blood Drive. This is a very unusual car combat game, just like Twisted Metal, but with zombies running around, as if you didn't have enough things to worry about with other cars coming at you and taking them out. You take out zombies, the blood effects, the gore is outrageous. This is a wonderful gem. I wouldn't be surprised if this is probably going up in value because it's a relatively low print run. I haven't looked, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot more expensive now. Just a fantastic game. The cover really tells you the whole game. It's so cool. I love this game to death, guys. Give it a chance. Now, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite games. This is another one where it was so bad, everybody hates this game. Put it down, and I have like an orphan. I have a heart for orphans, whether it's orphan cats I take in. I've been doing this my whole life, and I like it with orphan games. This is one that I refuse to see as a bad game. Yeah, it's not a AAA game. It's a good AA game, and I think that the combat is very good, but it has my favorite Mickey Rourke. I love Mickey Rourke. Back in the 80s, he was like the actor. He was very like the Johnny Depp level, Speaking of Depp, I'm sure a lot of you have been watching that that complete detritus on that thing. What a nightmare that poor bastard went through with the lies and everything. But anyway, Mickey Rourke is that quality of an actor. He just kind of went downhill at the end. So sad. Patrick Swayze too. A lot of these guys near the end. Burt Reynolds. They just start doing shit movies, and they're known for such quality movies, but his role in this and Road Warrior is just too much. It's just, you want to hear a lot of cussing, a lot of really crude. And it's based on this real, Navy SEAL dude. I can't remember what his name was. It doesn't matter. It's a great game. And the guy wrote a book, and Mickey Rourke did a great job portraying him with his voice and everything. Really good FPS game. I think it's outstanding. I couldn't put it down. This is another one I played in one night. I started playing it. I said, I'll just play a level or two just to see it, check it out. I played it all the way through. It was that good. Now, this is a very early Xbox 360 game, and I know it's clunky, and I know it didn't get the greatest reviews then or even now, but I like it because I love the concept of this, and that's Turning Point Fall of Liberty. In fact, there's a collector's edition of this that I'm going to go out of my way to buy, because I love this game so much. I wonder if there's a strategy guide for this. I'm not sure if there is. I'll have to look. I think it seems like I might have had one. I might have to add this to my list. Basically, it's kind of like a Wolfenstein, like Wolfenstein 2. It's the Nazis. This is kind of a parallel universe where it's like what happens if the Nazis won during World War II and they flew all the way and invaded New York City. And you see all that invasion. You're like an iron worker up on building a high-rise. Well, you see all the Nazi planes flying over and dropping bombs and picking everyone off, and you got to make your way down the high-rise initially to the streets below. And along the way, you've got to pick up weapons and just do the best you can. Kind of reminds me of the, oh God, what's the name of it? I can't think, my brain's thinking. But anyway, there's a favorite Xbox game that I really like that reminds me a lot of this. The concept of it, but it's really the set piece moments I think are quite good. Every now and then these Nazi blimps fly over and you kill the guys that are ready to parachute or drop down out of it. I really like this game a lot. I would give it a chance. It's really a great game. This game you can buy for a couple bucks. It's just absolutely dirt cheap. The collector's edition I could probably buy for the cost of a burger and fries today. For whatever reason, they didn't have Alpha Protocol in the backwards compatible list. This is one of the best spy RPGs that you can play. Very good. In fact, I liked it so much I couldn't find it initially at Dimples. They were sold out of them, so I was in such a hurry to play this after watching some reviews of it. I just bought the digital version, so now I got the digital version and the physical version. Then right after I got the digital version, the very next week, there was a physical copy. Hey, Dean, we got your Alpha Protocol. And I go, oh, great, thanks. I just paid a lot more for it online. By Obsidian, who did the wonderful Outer Worlds game that came out recently. But it's a wonderful spy RPG. It's a little stiff and not really clunky. It just doesn't seem as polished. And we get so spoiled with games today, but I think it's quite good. And I definitely would give this a chance to play. There's so many ways you can play this. It's such a great game. Here's one I may get some hate for, but I don't care because this is a genuine guilty pleasure. And that's Soldier of Fortune Payback. I love the early, PlayStation 2 Soldier of Fortune 1 and 2 and the Gold Edition and all that. But this was a 360 attempt at the same game. It's not the greatest gameplay that you've ever played in an FPS, but just the exaggerated gore as you just, with an M16, you're just blowing off the guy's arm and it just blows off the guy in the heads, and the headshots on this are so good. This is a great game. I love this. I've played this so many times. It's just an easy Sunday afternoon guilty pleasure. You know what? This is a Soldier of Fortune payback day. Some days I'll have that kind of a day, and it's just a quick guilty pleasure. You get right into the gore and the action, and you get the shit off your chest. It's really a great game. I love it for that reason. Here's one that I've got. In fact, I need to get the guide for this, and that's the Destroy All Humans, Path of Furon. Yeah, Path of Furon. This takes place, what was it? This was in the 70s. Yeah, it's another 70s, retro throwback game, but very cool with hippies and hippie vans and stuff and potheads and all that stuff. And it's like burn, baby, burn. It's just great graphics. It's such a great game. This is highly underrated. Really give this a chance. I need to get the guide for this next. It's hot on my list of guides to get. This is another one that I saw Mark Bussler review this. I didn't think it would be very good because a lot of mainstream reviewers just shit all over it. I think it's outstanding, and the sense of freedom you get, kind of like the Spider-Man game. I'm not into Spider-Man, but I like the Spider-Man freedom of, traversing a city the way you want, swinging from place to place. Very similar. He has this built-in grappling hook, and I have the digital versions on the 360 of the early Bionic Commando 1 and 2, 2D side-scrolling type deals, platformers. But Bionic Commando, it's just a reboot, Bionic Commando. I thought there was a byline to it. I haven't played this in probably 6 or 7 years, but this is a great, great game, guys. It's so good. There's so much to it, and these really cool post-apocalyptic world settings and environments that you go through and swing through, and you grapple, and you can swing from these balloon things. It's just very cool. The city below is like flooded with water. It's a very cool, very unique shooter. Some of these games are just, that's what I loved about the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Is that, the 7th gen was just filled with millions of IPs, like the Rogue Warrior, or like that Bionic Commando, where teams put a lot of time and money into them. They just didn't sell well because we had a glut of games. You could only spend, and the games were still $60 back then, so people are whining about the cost of games today, which have hundreds of 500 hours of Dying Light 2, and it's only $60, back then the games were, 7, 8 hours, maybe 12 hours at best. But you were happy to have them and play them. Here's another one, speaking of games that's been kind of underrated, and that's the Turok game. Kind of a reboot as well. I think it's very cool. If you love dinosaurs and you want to see like a Jurassic Park going back in time thing, and where you get conventional weapons and you get a killer knife, melee stuff, and excellent, ways to kind of, infiltrate through the jungles and get it. So I think it's a very cool game. I think I have the strategy guide for this. Maybe not. Maybe I need to get it. My memory's so bad, I can't even remember. It's tragic. That's another blog. But Splatterhouse, this is a must, absolutely must get. The music in this alone has Lamb of God. What other bands? It had some really good bands in this. I love heavy metal. I'm a big, Megadeth and, Ozzy and Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden fan. And so I love this this my favorite music. Even though I like classical and jazz, I'm listening to jazz in the background right now while I'm doing this just to keep me calm, because it's important to stay calm, God forbid. What other bands in this? You got Mastodon, Lamb of God, Five Finger Death Punch. Some of the bands I like, some I don't, but it's really good. And what you do is you can unlock Splatterhouse 1, 2, and 3 by playing through this is like Gore Fest amplified times 11. It's just over the top, but a wonderful game. And the fact you can play all of the old games, which you have to beat to unlock. They won't give them to you. It's very cool. Quick drink. Here's one that I just bought, not one, but 2 guides for. Gave one to Jeremy. This is done by the Blizzard Creations game, and that's a club. They're famous for doing racing games, like the Project Gotham Racing, but instead of it's like a racing game, but as a shooter. You're timed to go through these different like drug labs and really back seedy alleys and warehouse buildings, like in New York or Chicago, wherever the hell it's filmed, and you're like timed, like on a timer, to go through And kind of like PGR games, Project Gotham Racing, where not is it just racing, but to race with style, you know, and a little flair, a little sideways, you get points for that. Well, you get points for how you approach and how many weapons you can switch up and use in headshots. It's very addictive. You can go through level after level, just play the same level over and over and try to get higher scores. And it used to be an online kind of a competition at one time. I don't know if this had online multiplayer, it might have. But a very, very cool game and very unusual. You don't see games like this anymore, which is just so tragic to me. Dark Void, this is a fantastic game. Verticality for days in this, a wonderful, wonderful game. Kind of like that Rocketeer movie, it's what it reminds me of. It's kind of like a 40s type theme, and it's just a hero. You start off on the ground, you don't get the jetpack right away, but there's slowly you can unlock and you can climb better and gets up, and eventually he gets the jetpack, and then it's like crazy verticality and just rocketing through the skies and so much stuff coming at you. You can really get disoriented playing this, but this is a really good hidden gem. I don't know if it's expensive or not anymore. These were all cheap at one time. When I bought these, you know, 2011, 12, 13, they were, you know, $3, $5, $6, but it might be different now. Here's one I added just a couple of years ago, right before I moved here, in fact. It was one of the last games I bought, and that's Top Gun Hard Lock. Watch some reviews of this. It's kind of like an Ace Combat Assault Horizon in a way. It's kind of realistic in a way, but very arcadey. But you're taking on these, you know, oil platforms out in the Gulf of Mexico and flying at them, and, you know, Mach 2 and taking them out and watching them blow up. And it's just a very cool, just over-the-top explosions, kind of very 80s action-oriented. If you like Top Gun, really did the Top Gun thing. It's nothing really like the original movie, but it's on that theme of, you know, getting in your jet and taking to the skies and just shooting, blowing everything up. It's very cool. Now this one I've only played the beginning of, just because I wanted to see the graphics. It's a very kind of disturbing game, and that's this Clive Barker's Jericho. It's a strange FPS game mixed with like, not H.R. Geiger, but it's very grotesque. It kind of reminds me of the Dante's Inferno. It's like just demonic creatures, and you're in hell or something. You've got a combination of powers and guns and stuff. It's very cool. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is going up in price. It's kind of it's a cult classic. Very cool game. I really need to play through this and play more of it. This is, of all these games, this is the one and one other one that I haven't played very much of, but I think are so unique and good that I would definitely get them. This one I love to death, and that's Amp 3. Kind of like the Stoke Big Air Edition, but this one, the Amp series, which I think I have one of, I don't know if I have both of them for the Xbox 360, but I love this series because it's a good snowboarding series. Kind of like SSX, between SSX and the Stoke, kind of like, but there's a lot of fun stuff. Like you can take a couch down the slopes, down the hill instead of a snowboard. There's things you can unlock and things you can do. Very cool stuff, and a very chill game, good music, good graphics, very video gamey. But I really like it, much in the vein of the SSX series. I thought that they had this on backwards compatibility, but I guess I was wrong, and that's the gun game. Now, I played this originally all the way through on the original Xbox, and I've yet to play the 360 version, although I've watched a lot of reviews of the comparisons, and this is basically an HD version of the gun game. Very, very good. Chris Christopherson, and I don't know if Thomas Jane, other people lended their voices for this. Before Red Dead Redemption, this came out, and after Red Dead Revolver, I was loving the West and, you know, Calawar's, you know, Bound in Blood and those games. I was buying all of those at the time. This I played on the original Xbox right before I bought my 360, and it was so good. And with these new graphics, I can only imagine how good this game is now. It really is a wonderful game, guys. If you want a good open world game that's very good gunplay and violent in your face and a good story and really good characters, get this gun. It's so good. Bulletstorm. I thought this one was also in the backwards compatible. Now I do have the new definitive edition or the remastered version for the PlayStation 4 of this. So I mean, and initially I traded, every time I would get those upgrades, I would trade in my old game. So, and I regretted it. I'm going, you know, you never know down the road with a PlayStation 4, and that's why even though you can get Burnout Paradise, you know, on the newer systems, Down the road, whether I can play it, I don't know, but I know I can play Burnout Paradise, and you damn well better believe I can play Bulletstorm on my Xbox 360 offline now or 20 years from now. So this is, I pre-ordered this and got the guide for it as well. I love this game to death, from People Can Fly or whatever it was called. That studio did it. Outstanding game. Very good graphics. Over the top violence. It's such a fun game. It's a fun shooter. Really get in, and you get like same thing, kind of like that club game. You try to do more stylish kills to get higher points. Whatever. It's very cool. All right, now we're going to get into some games where there's sequels with each one. So I would get Test Drive 1 and Test Drive 2 Unlimited. The first one I loved, and I've been playing this a lot right before I moved here. This is one of the last games that I sunk a lot of hours in. Is you're on Hawaii, on the island of Oahu, which I haven't been to yet. I've only been to Maui, but I want to go to Oahu someday. That's more touristy. It's usually filled with people. The only problem with the game is they accurately portrayed all the major streets and roads and everything, but it's just not a lot of people you see around, so you feel like it's like a ghost town when you're racing through. But you see other cars on the road, so just not a lot of pedestrians. And the same thing with the second one, very much like it. A wonderful game. Open world racing game. It's so cool. You pick the races. You can race people on the street you bump into, turn around, and have a race from that point on. It's very cool. The second one has the same Hawaiian island, and then it has a new island, some fictitious island in the Mediterranean or whatever. So you fly, you go to one island, and later I think you eventually open up the Hawaii level that was here, but with better graphics and everything. I bought a lot of extra DLC cars for this. This is such a great game. It's wonderful. In fact, they're working on a new one now. A brand new Test Drive Unlimited, some weird name to it. There's like two factions fighting. It's very cool, and the graphics look mind-blowing. But I would get both of these games, guys. I couldn't decide which one I like more of them, frankly. It's just, there's some major cringe characters in the second one. That's why I like the first one a little bit better. But if you can get past that, it's quite good. The second one, you can actually build like big crypts or mansions, and have a big garage with all your cars. It's more of like, it was supposed to be like an online MMO, but you can play it fully offline. That's what's cool about them. Two other games I like very, very, very much, even though these got mixed reviews. Some people really liked them, and other people thought it was way too much of a departure from the original series, and that's the Shift series. I have Shift and then Shift Unleashed 2. These are must-own games. Very realistic graphics. Kind of like Need for Speed Pro Street in a way, kind of. It was like an advancement of that, with the kind of shaky cameras. And I mean, it's very realistic. You can hear the gussets creaking of the roll cages. It's welded to the outer body. I mean, it's very perfect. Little chunks of rubber flying up off the road, hitting your windshield with the guy in front of you getting sideways. There's a lot of minutia and love that went into this game. It's weird. There's something about the Need for Speed Shift games. You're almost like on rails, like a slot car, a track. But once you get out of that groove, the cars handle weird. So there's a difference, but I've noticed substantially. The cars are much more fluid in their handling on Need for Speed Shift 2 than 1. But they're both really, really good games. And I get a lot of cars and DLC packs for this second one. The second one is outrageous. I just didn't like the progression system. It's like there's something I like in each one of them, but there's things that I didn't like. But I would highly recommend the Shift series. If you like road racing like I do, I'm a big road racer, and I work for Gulfstream Engineering, working on their over 200-mile-an-hour Corvettes for the Silver State Classic and other race cars. Dick Gulfstream was like the Carroll Shelby of the Corvette world. And so I get to work for a motor icon, and that's where I got to get behind the wheel of some of the fastest. I drove a 219-mile-an-hour Corvette that was in the Silver State Classic. One of the most fantastic experiences I've ever had. We were only doing 196 miles an hour. We didn't quite push 200 in it, but you had the power to do it. It gets intense at those speeds. You start breaking out in a sweat like eating jalapenos. This next game series is a wonderful series. I really like it, and it's gotten better with age. The newer ones in the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are certainly better. But I really like the first and second Sniper Ghost Warrior a lot. Very good games, heavy stealth, but once the enemies find you, it's on. And my God, especially with the second one, the second one here, once they come after you like crazy, and just getting away is really, really tricky. But I love both of these. I love sniper games, and these are must play. If you like the Sniper Elite series and you want an FPS version of that, you got to play these. So good. The next two are absolute classics. I don't need any introduction, and that's Need for Speed, Most Wanted, and Carbon. This is a direct sequel to this one. This is so good. I played this. I got a ticket for doing 115 miles an hour right after playing this. I was just so worked up. And as you spot cops, all of a sudden it like hyper focuses. It kind of zooms in and it kind of freezes the cop car. That's how your brain kind of sees. Oh my God, it's a cop. And then it's like you go right back into the car and you're on it trying to get away. And it's some of these cop chases. You can go 15, 20 minutes trying to dump these cops. It's no joke. It's a really great game. I don't care for the reboot of this, the Need for Speed one in 2011, 12, 13, whatever it was. It's okay, it's good, and I have some DLC for it, but this is the absolute one of the best Need for Speed games. The cutscenes alone are so good. And the second one is more of the same. It's in a new city, but now you got like like up in Mulholland, up in the Hollywood Hills, where I did a lot of road racing, especially in the late 70s and 80s. That was the place to take your Corvette or your Jaguar, or your little Mercury Capri with the IMSA, flared fenders, and real road racer cars would go up there. And a lot of famous race car drivers went up there. Steve McQueen lived up there, and he lost it over one of the edges on one of his Jaguars and destroyed it. But it's a great game, and it reminds me of that great inner city. It's all at nighttime with this one. With this one, you get a lot of daytime stuff, but you'll do these really insane downhills that are just so intense. It's such a great game. These are masterpieces. Why they aren't on the backwards compatible list, I don't know. Probably licensing, music or car licensing. More than likely, that's what it is. The next two, I played the first one on the original Xbox, and just, who knows, maybe 160 hours or more in it. And that's the Godfather game. My God, I love this so much. It's such a good game. I've never played the 360 version. Much better fire effects. The frame rate in the original Xbox was just, it overworked the Xbox. Some of the car chases, it would just get real choppy. It dropped down into the teens, but it was a fantastic game. I'm dying to play the better version of it by far. Much better graphics, much better. And there's more, there's more episodes, or there's more missions or something, I think, in this version. There's a PlayStation 3 version, the Dawn edition or something, which I think had some more additions too. And then the second one. Now, the second one didn't get the glowing reviews of the first, but I love the Godfather 2 movie, and I'm telling you, they tied it in so good. This is one of my favorite games, and one of my favorite strategy guides too. This is basically... It's like a squad-based tactical shooter, like Freedom Fighters. Freedom Fighters, that was the name of the game that was like the turning point of, Fall of Liberty. I was trying to think of where you're an ordinary construction guy and you get or a plumber in Freedom Fighters. Well, it's kind of like that with this, but not with that setting, but with the, it's a tie-in with a wonderful Godfather 2 movie, which I adore. I've got so many different versions of that I've bought over the years on VHS and DVD, and I need to get in fact, I donated to my good friend Steve all of my trilogy of the Godfathers. Special edition I donated on DVD, but I need to replace it with the Blu-ray version. It's a great tie-ins with the movie. So good, but instead of playing one of the characters' moves, you play your own Don. It has one of the best top-down, it does show it here, way down the bottom. You can see it shows like looking down at an architectural model of a little city. And you can see the areas that you can take over and, see the icons and move them around, move your guys in. Then you pick up in a big Cadillac, you pick the guys up and they all pile in and you're driving to a place and you got a guy that's a safe cracker, another guy he's your weapons expert. And it's just so cool. It's just, these games are so underrated and it got such terrible reviews. Back then, a lot of reviewers were jaded. We had millions of games in the 6th and 7th gen. So they had just reviewed too many games, I think, to where, yeah, it's okay, nah, whatever, And these people, that's why I started my channel, because I'm like, Ma, are we playing the same game? This is outstanding. What the hell? Yeah, the graphics aren't as good as other open world games like the GTA games at that time, but still very good. There's no reason not to get and play these games, guys. I'm telling you, if I like them, you'll like a lot. A lot of you will like them. My taste is unique. Now, this next one, some people will argue with me about this, but I'm telling you, I think there's some of the best Medal of Honor games I've ever played. That's a 2010 Medal of Honor game and the follow-up Warfighter. This one I played late. I came late to the party a couple years because of the bad reviews. I stayed away from it. When I played it, I literally had tears in my eyes when I got to the end of this. This is an intense story. I had mixed feelings about them making a game while we're at war, actually in a war, and our guys are getting their face and limbs blown off in Afghanistan. And then to see it play a video game, I had mixed feelings about that. I almost wish it was a fictitious fight. I'm all for fighting the Taliban and the terrorists. I like that part of it. But it's very touching anyway. Really good story. And intense. My wave and wave. You feel like you're way outgunned at times. And what's neat is you go higher and higher up into the Afghan mountains and through cave systems and stuff. I love the verticality and just different ways you can call in, airstrikes. It's such an epic game. It had some bad invisible walls that would kind of broke immersion, unfortunately, but it did a good job for a fairly linear game that appears somewhat open world and open. It does have some invisible walls, but I love this game to death, and recently got the hardbound strategy guide for this, thanks to my friend Jeremy. And the second one I think is good. It had a short-lived multiplayer. The multiplayer I think was really good. This was one where I think I actually played the multiplayer and enjoyed it, but not long. A lot of guys were way too good, and you didn't last very long on this. But the story itself and the graphics and the sound design on both of these are absolutely outrageous. You have a good sound system, like I'm a JBL system. I've got my big 65-inch Samsung deal. It's amazing to play both of these games. The second one, Warfighter, is so good. It's just great, destructible environments and lighting effects. It's so good. I think political correctness, frankly, took those games out, which is tragic. This next one is the only time in here, I'm at not one, not two, but 4 games, kind of in a series. These are all the kind of, there wasn't a lot of James Bond 007 games for the 7th gen, but all of these are worth having. I couldn't leave any of them out. First one was a GoldenEye Reloaded, which is very good. The famous GoldenEye, they redid it with newer graphics for the 360. It's very good. Sadly, there's no blood. I don't know why. Why, guys? Just throw some little blood in and kill you? And the sequel to it I like even better because it has blood and it has Bond gadgets that weren't in GoldenEye Reloaded. But everyone shits on this game. It was rushed. I had a good friend when I used to be on Facebook and Twitter that had worked for Eurocom, and he told me a lot of what went on behind the scenes. I really enjoyed conversing with him because he told me a lot about GoldenEye Reloaded and this and some of the other Bond games that they worked on. He said it was rushed because they had to meet the Skyfall movie deal. And there was one DLC at the end. You download the Skyfall mission, pre-order, you get that mission free, which I did. The other ones are Bloodstone 007. Mark at CGR did a really good review of this, and that Pastimes HG, or I can't remember the name of it, the channel. He does really good game reviews of a lot of games that I like, but he did a good review of this. This is a great game. Daniel Craig, frankly, is my least favorite Bond. I'm more of an old school Bond guy, but I've kind of gotten used to him now. It's kind of like a mother remarries someone. You're not real thrilled about him at first, but after a while, hey, he's a good guy. He's nice. I like him. Kind of the same way I feel about Daniel Craig. But anyway, very good. This is made by Blizzard Creations, I think, did this too. They did Project Gotham Racing. And so they did all the driving and boat scenes in this. And it's really good. Great very polished driving and boat scenes and stuff like that. And an excellent third-person shooter. Very enjoyable. I enjoyed it very much. This one, I couldn't stop playing. I played this all the way through in one night. It's not a real long game, but it actually has 2 movies. It's a Quantum of Solace 007 game. Now, what's cool about this is it was made by, what was the name of the studio? Not the Treyarch, but the other one. Memory is so bad, guys. Infinity Ward. Yeah, that's it. So the HUD looks just like Call of Duty games. It's basically a Call of Duty game skin over a Bond. So Bond typically would be more stealthy and more diplomatic in how he gets through it, but it's like Bond with guns, you know. And it's I love this game. I thought that beautiful set piece moments are in this rooftops and Paris or somewhere having a huge shootout, jumping from one rooftop to the next. It's very cool. I love the shooting in this and really great levels. And it tied in the Quantum of Solace movie and then the Casino Royale movie. It has like both of them. So it even says Quantum of Solace. It's really, you're getting 2 movies, 2 games in one. An outstanding, this is highly underrated. Apparently the PlayStation 2 version is quite different from this. So I might have to get that just because it's an oddity and a very unusual, very different variant. Some of these multi-plats were quite different, which I discovered. You'll see that on Need for Speed games too. Some of them on lesser systems are very different. Anyway, that's the last of the doubles and all that. These are some good ones here I'll wrap up with. Excuse me, guys, my throat's really dry. This is I just recently got the strategy guide for this, and I haven't played it yet. I've watched some gameplay of it and reviews of this. I'm so excited for the new one. I'm just learning a lot about Warhammer. I've got some good friends here locally that are really into the tabletop, you know, variations of Warhammer 40K. And so I'm learning from them. I'm learning from my friend Jeremy. We're both kind of going through this Warhammer phase. In fact, you even get all the PC games, which I'm not going to get because I don't care about PC games. But I'm definitely going after every single... I don't like the older ones. I have an Xbox 360 Warhammer. It's like takes place in the medieval times. Those ones I don't really care about. Hack and slash combat, which is a little bit more of that, where there's more shooting stuff in this. But Space Marines... Warhammer 40K Space Marines. Watch some good reviews of this. There are 4 or 5 good reviews of it. An outstanding game. I can't believe, I remember when this came out, and I remember seeing trailers for it, and why I didn't get it, I don't know. I thought it was all hack and slash, but it's shooting stuff too. It's a good combination. This is a perfect blend. It's kind of like Gears of War, but without cover. So, I mean, you can get wiped out real fast in this, but it's very cool. This is one of the coolest shooters, and for a melee game, it's very gory. It's very satisfying. I would highly recommend this, guys. In fact, I have an extra disc. I found, there's another game I bought too. If I bought one, it didn't have the cover, but it had the disc and the booklet. So if any of you want the game, unfortunately, you could make a photocopy of the outside probably or something, or the booklet and then make your fake cover. But I do have the disc and the booklet if anyone's interested. Just text me or message me or whatever. This one should have been in the backwards compatible list, but it wasn't. I think it's outrageous. Very good violence. You want a really good, well done, great graphics, very violent game with a lot of, you know, interesting gameplay to it, and frankly a really good story too. Good acting and a very good story. And that's Dead to Rights Retribution. Wonderful game. You've got the dog companion with you, which you can sick on. It's very graphic. It shows him grabbing a guy's by the nuts, and it's just dogs just ripping their crotch out. It's hardcore, goes for the throat. It's like on steroids compared to the first 2 games, as good as those were. I played like 3 levels into this so far. This is when I'm actually on my coffee table. I'm jumping around between Army of 2, this one, and I'm about to start that Space Marines. Very, very good game. Outstanding graphics. I love the gore in this. It's so good. You just take guys and throw them over the railing of a high-rise. You have to assault this high-rise and take all these layers of gangs out of it, and it's very cool. Kind of reminds me of the Urban Chaos game, you know, on the original Xbox. Here, this is the other game that I have not played. Well, one of 3 games I haven't played, actually. Now I just saw a 3rd one here, but I'll list them because I know that they're so well loved. This game is made by the one that did that Total War game or something. I can't remember. Spartans Total War for the Xbox, original Xbox. In fact, I'm looking for that game. That's high on my Xbox list. Again, I've never been a big fan of hack and slash, but I love the Vikings. I don't care for the medieval themes so much other than Lord of the Rings. But I love the Vikings. I watched that Vikings show, the first season or 2 that came out. I need to go back and finish watching those. But this is Vikings Battle for Asgard. Asgard, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's very cool, very violent. My God, you can just cut limbs off and heads, and it's gloriously gory. It's just wonderfully gory. And based on that, my friend Jeremy this was the game that I was supposed to show in my last pickups video, along with all those guides. And Jeremy in the comments, hey dude, you forgot to show the Vikings game, and shows where my mind's, I completely forgot about it. It's very cool. Like you're taking on whole hordes of guys, you're just marching into the fray and slashing and hacking and stabbing and ripping guys up through the, it's just over the top. Very cool. I don't know why I waited so long to buy something like this, but it's a great game. So this is one I need to play, and the other one, I'll show it here, is the orange box. Believe it or not, I have never played this Half-Life 2 or Half-Life 1, and I've never played this Team Fortress 2. And it has a Portal game. That's right, so you actually get 3 games in this. This is probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going up in price. You get a lot of value for this one. But I've seen so many wonderful reviews, and I love this strange sci-fi, mysterious world of the Half-Life games. Why Valve doesn't make a new one, I don't get it. I guess they have that VR thing, which is very cool, but I'm very excited about playing this. This is another one in my eternal backlog I've got to get to. This game has taken a lot of heat. Of all of the zombie games that I've played, and I've played quite a few of them, except for the Dead Rising series, which I'm just now collecting and I'm looking forward to playing. I need to get the new PlayStation 4, trilogy of it or whatever, remastered. But I love this Walking Dead Survival Instinct. I have the first 3 seasons on DVD. I need to buy another several seasons because I've got so many now. In fact, I need to catch up on watching these now that I've finally got them on Netflix or Amazon or somewhere. I can go back and probably catch up on where I left off. I'm probably 5th season in, I think, in the series, watching it on TV. But they capture Daryl in it and his brother in the very beginning. It's very cool. It's kind of through Daryl's eyes, and it's so good. I mean, the graphics aren't the greatest, I understand, but it's so intense. I got several levels into this, and it just, I shut it off. My wife goes, she was just getting into watching me. Well, why are you stopping? I don't know. It's too intense. I literally get not so much scared, but it just gets over. My imagination as a right-brained artist, as a person, to me, I don't look at it as a technical. But some guys play a video game, go through it. Yeah, it was good. It was a good challenge. It's okay. And it's like nothing. It doesn't impact them because it doesn't reach them to their imagination or to the depth of someone. I have an overly vivid imagination. I mean, music can make me tear up or get inspired to drive up 200 miles an hour. I mean, I get motivated by impulses and things that I see and take in with my eyes and ears. And so when I play a game like this or some of these other horror games, I mean, they're very intense. The immersion is like over the top for me compared to maybe a lot of people. I don't know, but I'm in that category of people that it impacts them. I love this game. To me, this is one of the greatest. I would put this in the top 20 best Xbox 360 games of all time. I think it's that good. Don't listen to the reviews, and there are some good reviews of this game. It's very, very good, very challenging. Different ways you can play it. You can travel on this little map and go up, and then you get guys that you can collect and take with you in a car, and you get a bigger car, 4-door. Now you get 3 guys, and they can go into a town, and as you get back to the next town, they come back in the car. Now they've picked up more water or ammo, so it's like you're rationing, or you're management of inventory and of your things to survive. That's what it's all about. And it's very intense. You got to be quiet. The guns work really good in this, but the minute you blast one zombie, my God, they all hear it come at you. It's so good. This game is highly, highly underrated. It's so good. Watch a few reviews of it. They'll still urinate all over it, but it's one of my favorite games, guys. Give this one a chance. This is a good game. This is a great game. This is one of my favorite studios. That made this, the Starbreeze Studios, and that's the Chronicles of Riddick. Now, the Chronicles of Riddick has 2 movies, Assault on Dark Athena. So you think, oh, good, it's his follow-up to the first one. What you don't know is you get the Xbox original, wonderful Riddick game, remastered, beautifully done. And it looks like it was made for the 360. It's such an improvement. They made a lot of changes. It's just not like a sharp, upgrade. They changed colors. They dialed, put in more detail. It's worth it just to play the Butcher Bay game, which is included. Now, ironically, I'm playing the Butcher Bay one. I haven't even played the Dark Athena one yet, which is its follow-up. So I need to play that, but I want to finish the other one first. And the Riddick movies aren't the greatest, but this I think is better. The game is better than the movie. I like the Pitch Black movie, and I have it on DVD, but it's an outstanding game, guys. You get two very good games in this. This could be going up in value, too. I wouldn't be surprised. The good games are going up, I think. This is my favorite flying game of all time. I have all the Blazing Angels and, the Stormovic, IL, whatever it is, and I can't remember the other ones I've got. But I have all of the World War II flying games. So this one I think is the best because they created these epic set-piece moments, but in the sky, like, over London at night, with the barrage balloons, very cool set-piece moments. In this game, near the end, on the last level of this, I cannot beat it. I played this last level like 30 times. It's exactly like that damn, I just mentioned it, Medal of Honor Airborne, where if you fuck up on it, you're gonna go all the way back and have to fly in right from the beginning, redo the entire mission over after you've waded through so many waves and waves and waves of planes and mini bosses and I'm on the final boss battle. If I could just beat it, I'd own this game. And I just gave up. I could not get it, and I refused to lower the difficulty. I won't do it. And that's Heroes Over Europe. I've talked about this. Now, this actually is a sequel to the Heroes Over the Pacific, which is in fact, that's my favorite flying game for it. And I think that one is backwards compatible, or it was maybe with the 360. I can't remember, guys. I'm sorry. But Heroes Over the Pacific is one of my favorite original Xbox games. I can get it on the PS2 as well. It's so good. The detail on the planes is good, really good. I think the voice work in it's good as well. They really created these awesome set piece moments where it gives you a feeling of being in a World War II flight game. Highly underrated. Nobody talks about this game, which is criminal to me, I think. Excuse me. This game should have been in backwards compatible. My God, probably licensed. Midway made this one. I did a review of this. You can see it on my channel. Look under my reviews. I think I've got them in playlist, I think. John Woo Presents Stranglehold. My God, this is so good. I went out and bought all of the John Woo DVDs immediately after playing this. This is so damn good. Verticality, wonderful set pieces and set designs. It's overwhelming. It gets a little near the end. You've got so many different things coming at you. You can take on your enemies in multiple ways. You can jump onto a rolling, waiter's cart and roll down the hallway and taking everyone out on both sides, or run off a wall and take someone out in some unique way, or shoot a neon sign, it falls and knocks them out. I mean, it's over the top. It is so well done. I love the cutscenes. It's so good, guys. This is a great game. In fact, I need to see if there's a strategy guide for this too. I need to set these aside and start looking for more guides. I don't know if there is or not. I might even have it with my memory. God only knows. A really good game anyway, guys. This is the one I complained about in the backwards compatible list. They had Dirt 3, but God forbid you show the best Dirt game. Dirt 1, I think, is better than Dirt 3. Dirt 1, the cars are a little bit bigger on the screen when you look at the third-person view, or you're looking at the hood or whatever. But Dirt 2 is... Bustler didn't like it because of all the commercialization of the energy drinks and all the crazy colors and all this stuff. But I love Ken Block so much, and he's in this, and other people that lend the voices. It's like you're in a real racing rally car, and you're going all over the U.S. or the world or whatever, and you're doing these races. It's so well done. The graphics are good. This has the absolute best off-road rally racing I have ever played, next to the newer Dirt, Rally and 2.0 and all that, which are very, very good, by the way. This is much more arcadey, But my God, this is so much fun. I used to get drunk and play this. I don't get drunk anymore and drink, or I used to, bowl up with my bong and then just go at it and race for days when I used to smoke weed years ago. This is one of my favorite go-to guilty pleasures for racing. It's so good. Watch some reviews of this. Super fast, fluid fun. It is the fastest, funnest, high-speed driving you can do on loose surfaces. It's so good. Why the hell they don't have this in backwards compatibility? Probably licensing. Who knows? Good music in it. Car licensing, probably. The licensing thing, everyone with their lawyers and agreed fucks everything up, sadly, with games. That's why we don't get games and remakes, because God forbid, Here's another one because of licensing. And I could have, Forza 2 in this category very easy, and maybe I should have, but I wanted to keep it at 60. I had 61 initially because I had Forza 2. I took Forza 2 out because this is more of the same but better. I have hundreds of dollars in DLC. I went ape shit. I mean, Microsoft greedy. You guys are complaining about all the microtransactions. I could have went out and bought probably a console for what I spent in DLC on this. What's funny is you can play the game on the Xbox 360, but you can no longer get any of the DLC. It's completely gone now. But I own all of it. I mean, a fortune worth. This is the best, the last good Forza Motorsport you can play without those damn drivatars, and you can play it completely offline. That's why it's an absolute must-have Forza game. I know a lot of you guys like the Forza Horizon. I love Forza Horizon. The first one in particular is my favorite, and the third one. The second one's good too. They're all good. The newer ones are just a lot of online things where each week they have snow. Whether you like it or not, you're playing snow. I don't like that. I pick what I want. Don't tell me what to play. I'll play, guys. Microsoft. I mean, let me turn 10, whatever. Let me pick what I want. I don't care about we're having a snow event this week. No, fuck that. I won't play this Forza Horizon 4 and the other ones. But anyway, that's another vlog. Forza 4, Motorsport 4, the graphics look as good it pushed the Xbox 360 to the hill. This looks amazing. It still plays and looks amazing. It's so good. I've got, in my favorite cars, I've modified. I got a 70 Camaro from hell, the identical to the orange one I used to have in real life. And I just love to go out and just wring that thing out and just throw it into a corner, into a four-wheel drift. It's so realistic. It's so good. The tracks and graphics and fluidity in this is amazing. A must-play game, guys. Get Forza 2, too. A little bit more rudimentary with the graphics compared to certainly the photorealism of this, but outstanding games, both of them. This game, I don't care what anyone says, I think it's one of the best Terminator games ever made, and that's Terminator Salvation. A fairly short game. In fact, I'm pretty deep into it. I've got a couple levels left to go in this, and I got stuck in one part, and I just kind of gave up after dying twice. Play something else. That's a problem is with ADDers all over the map. Hey, look, a squirrel. You're constantly jumping around with games, so that's why it's hard for me to play these 100 2-hour open world games. I mean, I'll really get into it. Even Mad Max, I'm hundreds of hours, 300 hours in, but I still haven't finished it yet, because then I see another shiny object and I want to gravitate towards it. But this game is so good, and it's kind of has a lot of dynamics out of the Terminator Salvation movie. Now, I like this Salvation movie a lot. Terminator 3, I like parts of it too. But I really, for some reason, that's the character that played the main character was Sam Waterston. I can't remember what his name was, but a really good actor. Then he discovers he's a Terminator and he's tortures him. And then he comes across, Arnie near the end. They have a lot of the Terminator types from the movie in this. Those ones that are all metal and chewed up, and they're still wearing the ragged clothes and boots and stuff. The real big ones, and you have to take on, and it's intense, dude. It's really intense. Get a lot of flying ones that drive you nuts, like gnats or mosquitoes when you're out camping in Maine. So it reminds me of, they drive you crazy. Little flying things. You got to stop and take them out so you can concentrate on the ground, guys. But I love this game. It's so good. This is a must-get guilty pleasure, in my opinion. Another game hated by a lot of people, but also equally loved by people like me, and that's the first Homefront. Now, I have the Revolution as well, which I've yet to play, and I just bought all the DLC for that because I love this so much. I know it's quite removed from this. other than the basic premise of the Koreans taking America, which is absurd, but very cool game. It takes place, where not far from where I used to live in the Bay Area. Kind of I used to be 90 minutes away from San Francisco, and I liked it for that reason. But it's really well done. I mean, and it's very violent and graphic. It's a really good first-person shooter. I think it's worth playing. There's some unique elements. You have this armored thing you can call in, radio in, it comes in and takes out everything in the cul-de-sac or the neighborhood. It's pretty cool. And you're working with that, you're working with these underground people that you meet up with, and you're having shootouts in these, Home Depots on fire and stuff. It's very, very cool. It's over the top. There's some gore in this and phosphorus and stuff that takes out enemies. There's a lot of controversial deaths and stuff in this, but I love this game to death. I've played this game twice all the way through. It's an amazing game. Getting in this, saving some of the best for last. You're right near the end, guys. Are you still asleep? You still watching? Solid Rev. I know it probably takes him 4 or 5 evenings to get through my video. He doesn't have the patience. He won't even watch my openings. Rev, if you're watching this, I'm not poking fun at you. But he fast forwards through. He doesn't like, I don't care for the intro. It's wasting. I don't like wasting my time. He likes to get right to the meat of it, and my videos are long. He's used to watching short videos. He doesn't have the interest to sit. But out of respect, he tries to watch it over several nights. And 3 weeks later, he'll leave a comment, "Oh, Dean, yeah, a great video." But anyway, and Rev, you might, I don't know if you like all these racing games or not, but you'll like some of these coming up, I know that he likes them, saving the best for last. But this Fallout Ultimate Carnage, I love Fallout 1, flat out, all over the map today. This is what happens when you don't get enough sleep. I had a long week this week, a little hard work, doing a 7,000 square foot home, and my wife came by. I forgot I'd bring in the clear coat to redo the wood door in the front. And I asked her, can you come at lunch and bring the clear coat? I completely forgot. I want to spend $100 in gas driving home to get it in my Ram, So she came up and dropped it off and saw me up on, a 32-foot ladder and almost had a heart attack. I didn't know when she was coming. She said, I'll be there between 11 and 1, I don't know. And she saw me and I immediately started coming down the ladder. She doesn't like seeing me on the big ladder. She said, I want you doing something else. You're going to die doing this. But anyway, why I'm talking about all that, I don't know. I'm tired, and that's why I mentioned I'm just exhausted. It was a hard week. This is an outstanding game. Flat Out 1 and 2 on the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2 are absolute favorites. Flat Out 2 was remastered for the 360. A lot of people don't know that. You'd never know that looking at this game. It's the identical game, but with much better graphics and more stuff on the track. So the other one might have a couple tires and a few little odds and ends of things. This one has like 20 times more debris on the tracks, and so it's very intense. You go multiple paths you can take. The air you get is awesome. Some of the most addictive racing I've ever played in a video game. I love this. This is one of my absolute top 3 favorite Xbox 360 racing games of this day. You've got to get this. It's probably going up in price if you can find it. Flat Out Ultimate Carnage. It's basically Flat Out 2 on roids. Very, very good. And multiple classes of cars and trucks. And it's just very cool. There's so much to it. This next one is an unusual racing game, but I love it because my friend Jeremy got me going on these, what was it? The Tokyo racing series, Tokyo Highway, Battle or whatever it's called. And they had one too. There was one on the Dreamcast, the first one. And they made the second one. I'm kind of a remake of one of them on the original Xbox, and I think the PS2. I'm not sure, but they did make the final one on the Xbox 360. But instead of calling it Tokyo Highway Battle 13 or whatever it was, they decided to call it Import Tuner Challenge. This is the only one I played. I have all of them. I bought all of them for the original Xbox. Thanks to my friend Jeremy's advice on which ones to get and what to get. They have these drift ones, which are very removed. They're nothing like it, so I skipped the drift 1 and 2 ones, but this is outstanding. It's a very chill game. This is a game I would come home tired, and sometimes I'm not up to a big shooter, and I just want to, I play like my snowboarding game, something very kind of calming. I could play for 30 minutes or 15 minutes or so before going to bed. This one I can play at any time, no matter how I feel.
It's at night. All the racing's at night on these great, like realistic Tokyo highways, and there's interconnections, and you know, get off and onto these frontage roads, and you build. I've got building a 350Z right now, and you can modify it and build it up, or you can buy something else and work on it. It's a long, progressive game. This is you can get a lot of mileage out of this, but it's badass. I love the music's very chill, and you're just driving these cars at night. It's like a Fast and Furious, like the Tokyo Drift, but you're racing on the highways at night. And I think there's neon. You can get a lot of stuff on the cars and modify them up. And it's just very cool. And then there's all these people that have their car, famous people, and they all have like these avatar names or whatever. And you get, okay, now I'm racing the Cobra King or whatever it's called. And so now you're racing him. Finally you beat him, and now you're going to race, harder gangs. And there's all of like these gangs or car clubs that you have to challenge to get to the top. And it's a very mesmerizing game. It's so chill. I can't believe I saw this for years and passed on it. Now it's getting kind of hard to get. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going up in price. I don't know. Jeremy knows all the prices of these games. I used to know a lot of them, but my brain's not what it was. But it's a great game. I love this game to death. And it's got a nice thick booklet in this game. I mean, look at this booklet. It's black and white, but it has everything. All the different ways that you can, race the cars and customize them, and all of your, opponents, and, it's just very cool. A really cool game, guys. Saving the best two for last, naturally. And I'll start off with my reason why I bought my 360, and I bought it the day this came out is when I said, I'm buying an Xbox 360. By then, they had them on the shelves, kind of like how I'm hoping the Series X and the PlayStation 5 will be at some point. I mean, by the time, what's funny, it was 5 years before I could buy a 360, or maybe 4 years. It was 2009. They came out in 2005, so 4 years I had to wait for a 360 because you could not get them. In California, they were gone. At Best Buy, I would get 20 of them. There were guys who literally would get stabbed fighting over the last couple of them. And I just said, I don't want any part of it. I'm not going to sit here and camp out for 2 nights and then have I'm going to pull my HK out and take out some guy and then go to prison because I want a fucking game or an Xbox 360. So I waited till it came in. In fact, the day that this came out was the day that the 360 dropped down $50 in price. So it's a double hit. And you get the flamethrower for pre-ordering it. This game is so good. I've played this a few times all the way through and on hard. It's a very, very addictive game. I think it's an outstanding reboot. In some ways, I like it better than the New Order. The New Order is a masterpiece, and I can't take anything away from that. But there's something about this game. It's because it's like a supernatural, and they get into that with the old blood. Kind of gets into a lot of this, and it's like a return, almost like a reboot of this in a way, in some respects. But it's like a traditional World War II FPS game. But all of a sudden, you got these supernatural powers, and you go through this thing called a veil, and you go into this completely different world. It's all distorted, and it's all like aqua and blue, and there's weird ghosts and shit flying around in the air, and it's just bizarre. And you have to level up your conventional weapons as well as your magic powers. And abilities to go through this veil and manipulate things and see through things and get at things. It's very cool. Very, very cool game. I cannot rave about this game enough, guys. This is probably my favorite Xbox 360 game. I've played so many games since this and bought so many games. To this day, this is the one I'm going to take in my coffin. I'm going to tell my wife I want this buried with me and my favorite, Call of Duty shirt. I'm just kidding. But it's a great game, guys. I can't rave about this enough. It's so good. Mark Bussler did it. Mark Bussler did a review of this. Because I love the game so much, I wanted to see other people review. So I'll put in, Wolfenstein 2009 review, see what comes up. Well, I saw Mark Bussler. I didn't even know who Classic Gamer was. That's how I discovered Mark. I became friends with Mark Bussler because of this game. And he loves this game too. You can see it in his review, which you probably can still see on Classic Gamer. The follow-up in 2010 or 11 this came out, and this had a lot of development problems, but it still is a very good game, even though they had to cut a lot of stuff out of it, which I'd love to have a remastered version with all the shit they cut out, but I'm happy with getting this, and that's Singularity. Raven Software, id Software, and Starbreeze are my favorite development studios. There's so many, but those are probably my top 3 favorites, and for good reason. But Raven takes the cake. They're so good. They're the ones who remastered the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, I think. I don't know if they did 2 or not, but they did a wonderful job remastering it. Singularity is just a gem. It's the same thing, kind of like, frankly, a lot like this, very similar. They used a lot of like the special powers. You had this time, you can manipulate time, take things that are old, decayed stairwell, it's falling apart, and go back in time. Now it's a new one you can climb up. They had a lot more of those dynamics in the game that they had to cut out because it was too much for the console versions and whatever. They had their technical reasons for it, but it's cool, and it takes place, you fly in, you're a pilot, and you're flying into this rescue operation to go into this hidden island in the Soviets owned at the time, going back to the Soviets in the 50s, and you're jumping between the modern times and the late 50s Soviet era as the Soviets found this power that they think they can take America to control the world. It's very cool. This and this are 2 of my favorite games on the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3. In fact, I gave a brand new copy of the PlayStation 3 version to Steve Benway, which I haven't followed. He banned me on Twitter and on his YouTube channel because of the political differences when President Trump was elected. I just simply said something, not even naming names or anything. I just said something, and he got upset about it. And Dean, you're banned. And I go, oh, okay. Well, it's a shame. I sent him 2 nice packages of gifts, but that's why I don't like politics. So I got off Twitter, Facebook, guys. It's just toxic. If we can't get together, I have good friends that watch me that I know or don't believe the way that I do, but I love them just as much as if they were my brother. I don't care about the politics. It'd be nice if we all shared similar views on some of this, as it is destroying the country and the world, certain aspects of the political side. And there's both good and bad aspects to the right and the left, believe me. I've seen it all. That's why I'm a libertarian. I try to stay centered as much as possible. Kind of like Elon Musk, I'm kind of centered, but as they go farther and farther to the left, I find that I stay the same, so I'm becoming more, conservative as things get crazier out there. But my point is that life is short. We need to be good friends together. Steve Benway, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I still think the world of you and miss your vlogs, and it's a shame that things went the way they did. These are good people that I really think the world of, that inspired me, frankly, to do YouTube. It's because of Steve Benway and because of Mark Bussler and my friend Frank from New York that no longer does YouTube. He's got some anxiety issues and he can no longer do YouTube. It's so sad. He had such a good channel and these guys were so big. I've seen a lot of changes in YouTube. I remember when there were so many up-and-coming channels that were doing game reviews that were so good, candid commentary like mine, that people that cared about games and didn't want the corporate bullshit of IGN and GameSpot and all that crap, Kotaku, and just all the politics that kind of create a narrative for every review they do, and that's what killed that G4 thing recently. They can't keep it in their pants, dudes. It's a shame. These guys are such good reviewers, and they put their policies. If you don't think the way I do, then don't fucking watch me, you SOB. And this is what's wrong with the community. This is what's wrong with the world. This is why I got off all social media. My wife said, well, why don't you get off YouTube? You're still on there. I go, because I've invested so much. I've been on here for, a million years or 10 years. It's been 10 years. 10 years this September I've been on YouTube, and it's been a strange journey. I've always been the same. My thumbnails have not changed since 2012. I'm the same person. I just look a hell of a lot older. My voice is rougher now and everything, but thanks to COVID. But I'm the same person, and I love doing these vlogs. If you made it through the end and you're still watching this, thank you. I appreciate it. You can let me know if you watched it all the way through. You say, yeah, I appreciate the vlog, and yeah, I made it to the end. Thanks for making it, or whatever, I like hearing. Naturally, I love the support, the positive comments. I get some challenging comments from time to time. That's okay too. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion and their view on things. You know, it just shit changes. We're in a very dark age, guys, where it's the community's infiltrated with so much negativity and drama and crap, and I don't want to go there. I just want to stay positive and focus on the things that I love, just good, fun games. You know, that's all I want to do is play fun games and have a good time. You know, there's so much to life that makes gaming fun. That takes so much. I work so hard for my money, and sometimes right now on my budget, I'm way down. I'm not going to be buying a lot of stuff from here on out. But, you know, I got lots of wonderful experiences that I can play any damn time I want. Offline, I might add. So if Xbox suddenly, their servers are shut down for a weekend, which apparently happened right after my vlog that I went off on Xbox about why I like offline. And one guy said, yeah, you're right, Dean. You know, your point was funny how timely your video was, because Xbox just had a huge thing and we're all pissed off. Well, that's what happens with it, guys. That's why you need these offline gems to play. You can play them any damn time you want. You know, and I guess we can with the PlayStation 4 and some of them. I don't know. I need to do more research as to what, you know, you can play and you can't play with games and offline and on. It's just, it's confusing. There's some of the games have, like the new Halo Infinite, you know, there's only a little piece of the game, a tiny piece of it on the disc. It basically is a key to go and download. So even to play the offline campaign, you have to be online. I mean, it's just, this is where it's going, guys, because no one stood up and made a stand. You guys made a stand in 2013 when Microsoft started this shit. You made a stand. Said, no, we don't want your DRM. We don't want your fucking, you know, Kinect camera watching us with Big Brother or whatever, you know. I know a lot of people think that's hyperbolic, but I have my standards. And when they removed the Kinect, I said, now I'll buy an Xbox One. You know, I mean, that's who I am. I stand behind my principles. I don't budge. I'm very black and white how I see things. I try to be more gray now as I'm older. I try to look at all sides of an issue naturally. I try to, but it's not easy. But anyway, guys, that's my top 60 reasons to own an Xbox 360 in 2022. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for sitting all the way through another long-ass vlog. And just enjoy your life, enjoy the weekend, enjoy your next week ahead, and enjoy your games and your game collections. Thank you for watching.